Hello, people of the internet. Ian, also the Freedom Astrologer, once again here, recording another video. This time again, I'm using some astrological examples and kind of mix and matching them with real life and showing you how some astrological transits, natal placements can manifest in real life and what to do, how to handle it, how to ground the energy, how to work with it, how to make it a little bit easier for yourself. And especially in this case, or with today's topic, like Saturn, hard aspects from the planet Saturn. It is a theme usually whenever Saturn hits a square or an opposition to one of the planets in your natal chart, for example, or it's kind of like a general transit that is going on, a longer one. You can also feel it in your day-to-day experience. It is the overall topic whenever Saturn is involved is and especially in hard aspect, is there is some sort of obstacle or difficulty to overcome, or some kind of let's say hard experiences maybe to learn. And maybe even not the whenever there's a hard aspects in play in general, there's a kind of like I would say a lot of the times there's almost like a distorted view of the situation, or distorted understanding of whatever it is that is going on, because there's so much going on, there's difficulty going on, there's emotional stuff going on. So the clarity of the person or the individual, or even when we're talking about larger themes or topics, it isn't quite there. It isn't the sharpest, let's say. It kind of needs more work. And today we're talking about Saturn, and I brought you guys an example as well here from our recent times. We just had Saturn opposite, for example, the Sun and Mercury. You can see, and for those of you who don't know what an opposition and square are, for example, you can find a lot of information online. But I'm also doing let's say tutorial beginner videos on this channel more and more now, kind of going from the ground up to show you what is what. And don't worry, I will explain the aspects in much depth in coming videos as well. But opposition, right now we're using an opposition in this example, and an opposition is usually a 180-degree aspect, so it means they're opposite each other in the natal chart, or in our solar system. They're kind of, from the point of view of Earth, they're in opposition with each other. So an opposition is kind of like you can see, even when I say opposition, you can see two energetic or this time planetary bodies are kind of butting heads. So this means there's no harmony in that aspect. It is kind of like a tension. There's kind of friction there. So you can also already see that it isn't the most easy thing. Whenever there's friction, whenever there's kind of like butting heads, blockages, it usually means that it isn't the easiest thing to handle. Now, we also need to understand with this topic that's what Saturn represents, and a lot of what I will discuss here is a specific pattern with Saturn. And to understand this more, you need to understand that Saturn actually represents the past and everything that has kind of been already, that's kind of been done, and also time. It's also important to understand Saturn rules time and everything in the past. So when I say, in astrological terms, when I say rules, it kind of just means represents. Just a fancy astrological lingo that you don't have to use, but when you watch astrological videos, usually the word is rules instead of represents, or kind of like, yeah, I think you get the point. Now, whenever these hard aspects happen between planets, and then you can see also, when you put on transits, there's a lot of good places where you can put on transits on online, on websites. And if you put on transits, you can see maybe that Saturn is doing this here in Aquarius, or is situated on 10 degrees of Aquarius, and maybe you have something in the sign of Leo in your natal chart, maybe your Sun, maybe your Mercury, or maybe you have something in Taurus or Scorpio. Right now I'm recording this video during 2021, so 2021, 2022, if you're listening during these years, this video, it's not the easiest when we're thinking about fixed signs, and fixed signs are Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. So you guys are getting quite a bit hurt by Saturn, and kind of bit like hammered by Saturn and blocked by Saturn in a lot of ways, but it's not all bad. But let's talk about one specific pattern that can really be quite annoying, and can lead to almost like self-sabotage as well. So we know now that Saturn is time. We know now that aspects, difficult aspects, squares, and square is a 90 degree, sorry I didn't say, aspect, and opposition 180 degree aspect. These are not the easiest ones, and when you combine the kind of past blockage difficulty side of Saturn, which Saturn again rules or represents, you can see already that the cocktail here that we're making isn't the easiest. Now, whenever Saturn meets another planet in this difficult aspect, the topic of time will always come to kind of like this on the surface. Now, why am I constantly repeating time and time? With different planets and planetary influences, different themes and topics will come into play. But still, when Saturn is involved, the topic of time and the past will still be in play. For example, we have, in this case, Sun opposition Saturn. So what this means is, because the sun is a lot to do with our career, how we create in the world, what we want to do work-wise, fun as well. But a lot of these topics are going to come now into our life, into our general life. And furthermore, we ourselves are going to want to go into the past. So what do I mean by this is, everything that kind of was in the past was seemingly starts to even look better, feel better, and our minds start to ponder like, I want this again. I want to go there and experience this again. So this is one of the kind of places where Saturn really does the number on us. Let's put it that way, and kind of starts to deceive us into thinking that the past was in some shape or form better. Now, why is that even so? Because, like I mentioned already, Saturn brings those challenges, those duties, those responsibilities, blockages, problems at times. And in this case, in this example with the Sun, so a lot to do with career from a very simplistic point of view. And because there's so many duties and responsibilities in our lives currently, the mind or the Saturn starts to go back in time, go into the past, into places where, or times where things were not so difficult, where things seemed better. Now, it's quite a common, easy thing for the mind to go somewhere else, to go somewhere where it seemed better. But that's not how life works. And when you think about this, whenever you're doing something in the real world, and let's say in this case you're doing something in career, and there's a lot of duties, there's a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders, so it's heavy. It's not going to be super easy to stay in the moment, stay in the present, to work through this, to organize, to make things happen. It's easier for the mind to go and kind of start delving into the past and start kind of searching for better times in the past. And this is what I've noticed with Saturn opposition or squares. It can kind of trick you and pull you towards the past, like almost constantly pull, because Saturn is also repetition. So it kind of repeatedly pulls you into that pattern of thinking like, oh yeah, the past was really good. Yeah, the things we did then were really good. The ways we had fun then were much better now. I can't even have da. So it's kind of like a repeating pattern, especially in this case as well. We have Mercury opposition Saturn as an example. Now, I just want to say that this applies to transit when you're having transit, but also innately. Whenever you have this natally, there can be like this kind of like proneness to go into the past constantly. Whenever it's, sun, you're going to think about past careers, past work times that were seemingly better that they are right now. With Mercury, it's kind of like just past thoughts, past ideas, past things you did. Basically, you're going to repeat them in your mind constantly. Especially with Venus and Saturn in a hard aspect, you're going to be thinking about past relationship. And this is maybe one of the most difficult ones to have. Is going to just constantly go and pine over, oh, this person was so amazing to me. Oh, we had such a good time. Why didn't it work out? It's just constantly in the past. Just this is the problem with the hard aspect and Saturn. You're going to constantly go back and back and back instead of being in the present moment, instead of doing the present, duties you have, responsibilities, whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever aspect it's making with another planet. Especially with the moon, it's kind of like an emotional, very difficult thing with the moon and Saturn hard aspect. It's going back to even some childhood stuff. So some childhood woundings, some childhood pains can come up with that Saturn, but also can go back and think about being a child even was good. Everything was good when I was younger, and everything in my family home time was kind of good. Now this is a tricky part with the moon and Saturn, because it's because it puts a lot of emotional pressure, like almost can Mercury and moon both can, with Saturn hard aspect, can bring some sort of depressive thoughts, even depressive feelings, like there's no optimism, positivity in the world. Hard to see anything quite upbeat in an upbeat way. Everything seems very gray, and there is a chance that it pulls you into those more negative things that happened also. So it doesn't always have to be that I'm going to think, oh, the past was so great, the past was so amazing. But again, even when it's the moon, it's like because you feel so emotionally drained and down on yourself. So still the pattern can be, you still can, and the mind can go into different areas of the past where it wasn't so hard, when it was easier, to start kind of like, oh, wishing, oh, that was so good, that was so amazing, and can kind of again repeat that same thing, instead of facing the challenges right now, which is basically need to emotionally mature, bring up some painful things from the past to heal, to be released. And also with Mercury, it's the mind. So the mind needs work. You need to really be start getting practical with what you think, what you are kind of constantly, what those thoughts really are and what they mean. Now this actually, I kind of skipped a part, because this actually brings me to the next part of this video, which is like what to do. We talked about, Moon, Venus, Mars. Whenever Mars and Saturn are in a hard aspect, the energy levels, it's similar with Sun, but action, because Mars is also action. Sun and Mars are both to do with our energy levels, but Mars is action, so there can be a hesitancy in taking action and maybe feeling lethargic and kind of like down, not being able to take action in life. And with Jupiter, it's hard to kind of like believe in anything optimistic or positive. It's like everything seems so gray again, and maybe even the belief systems that come your way are kind of like rigid and very limiting belief system. Saturn and Jupiter, hard square or opposition by transit or by or natally. So the next part is like, so we know what this does. Like it really drags us into the past. So this is one of the problems when it does. Now, how do we really get back into the present moment, into the let's say more of the present times, which is also kind of like, because time is Saturn, but it does drag you more into the past. Now, everything to do with Saturn needs to be very, very practical, very, very logical, very earthly, very material. So the solutions right now should be very, very practical. Now, with a lot of things here, it is just a matter of taking the time, again, Saturn, taking the time to see, to observe these thoughts, to observe these patterns. You're going into those past things, and to start seeing like, okay, so I'm pining over these relationships, I'm pining over my past career, I'm pining over, whatever it is that a repetitive thought is. Or, I with Jupiter, for example, the person can feel like I can't believe, or I don't believe in humanity, for example, or there isn't really something to look forward to with Saturn, Jupiter, hard aspect. So you need to go really back into those spaces and ask yourself really practically. Even at times with Saturn, because Saturn wants organization and kind of getting very, very practical with matters. Or go back into those spaces, and you can even write it down, organize like a list or something, and see, was it so great? Was it actually so great? Because whenever there's, emotional turbulence or kind of like hardship going on, it's very, very hard to see actually clearly. And so you need to kind of step away from the busyness, the hardship, the duties, the responsibilities, to be able to see clearly into the past of, okay, so maybe this relationship wasn't that great, but you in your mind are thinking like, oh, this I remember it was kind of great. But once you take the time, Saturn, and kind of in an organized, material, practical way, go back and actually look at it, it might not, and most often not, you start to see the things you did there, the things you kind of acted, or the way you acted in these relationships, or the duties, the responsibilities you had in the job, career, Sun. Maybe you're already grown past those. Maybe those relationships weren't really good. Maybe those ideas and thoughts, Mercury, weren't that amazing. And you can really practically start to see, if you slow down, again, Saturn, and observe all of these matters. So this is one of the things I really urge you to do whenever you have this kind of Saturn difficult transit, especially whenever you have or you have it natally. So it is, again, natally is in a way more difficult, because it's kind of like with you, the pattern will stay with you during your entire life. So at times you will start to go again, pine, oh, this was so great, this was amazing. Then you need to really stop, get back to the present moment, and look at what you're actually pining for. Look at what you're actually yearning for. And usually, most often, the answer is you are wanting to feel and experience something different than you are experiencing in the current moment. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why you're constantly going back to it, the old things because you felt something good in those situations, moments, and now you want to feel that as well, but you're not capable because of the things going on right now in your life. Now, again, practicality, being in the present moment, really looking at these from a clear perspective, then you understand that what you're actually yearning from those moments is more of the feeling side right now, that you want to feel and experience right now in this moment, not the actual situations, relationships, ideas, thoughts, beliefs you had in the past, or ways of having fun. All these matters are best left in the past, which is also again Saturn. So I hope this makes sense to you. I know whenever I even start to talk about Saturn, I start to repeat myself a lot, but I hope this helps you kind of see this, and when you have this pattern, I hope this kind of helps you bring yourself into the more present moment, because it's really easy with Saturn to go into those spaces of, oh, this was so great, oh, this was so amazing, why can't we have this again, why can't we have this, blah blah blah, these kind of repetitive thoughts. But life doesn't work that way. You've lived it, you've experienced it, you felt these things, you got the experiences necessary from that, and now you're in this moment. You need to figure out how to move with these duties that are kind of, with Saturn, it's usually the duties or hardships. You need to figure out how to deal with these. And some things you can do practically as well is with Saturn and Sun and Mercury, this combination hard aspect, you need to organize. You need to really look at the routines you do daily, and you need to structure them. You need to do proper structures for your daily routines to manage the workload that's been given to you. Very important. Now, with Venus and Saturn, you just need to really know that literally there's going to be challenges in the relationships, problems, so you need to solve them. Again, talk to your spouse, talk to them practically, what's going on, what can we do, what can we organize together to kind of move past this, but know that there are going to be tests in the relationships, so it's not going to be super easy. With the moon and Mercury both, it's kind of like, because it's so the thoughts can be depressing, the emotions, feelings can be quite depressing. It's good to go, to see a professional, to see a therapist, to see a guide, to kind of help you bounce these ideas, to kind of release those emotional pains from the past. With Mars and Sun, with the energy, it's like the action taking and kind of like that, the material creation in the world that you're doing, and Mars is brave action. So whenever there's a hard aspect with Saturn, it's going to be harder to take action, but it's important to take a little bit action every day. Make it something small that is not too scary. Take action. Like small baby steps is basically one of the best ways. And with Jupiter, hard aspect Saturn, I would say, you need to practically look at those beliefs and to see different sides of things, because it can really drain. Jupiter is optimism. Jupiter is kind of like seeing the future in an optimistic way, seeing higher knowledge, acquiring higher knowledge and beliefs, and sitting down, taking time to really dissect, what are you believing about the world? Why am I so negative? Why is it so hard right now to believe in anything positive? Can I shift these? Can I change these? Are they even real? Are they even true? Sitting down, making a list, organizing these beliefs, seeing maybe I'm going too much into these kind of negative, restricting beliefs. It's kind of like almost like a very restrictive religious kind of combination, the Saturn Jupiter hard aspect. So I hope I gave you guys at least some ideas on how to work with it. I hope I gave you these kind of ideas what Saturn can really pull you back into the past, where you can go there obviously to understand and organize the things and see that what you maybe there's something you need to bring back from it. There's always that chance. But it doesn't mean that you need to be always pining, because if you're always pining for the past in the present moment, it's really hard to stay present in the present and to do the things that you need to do, because you're constantly putting energy into the past, into the past, into the past, so you're not actually doing what you need to do right now. And that's one of the reasons I mentioned like self-sabotage at the beginning of the video, because it can really self-sabotage you in a lot of ways, in relationships, in career and work as well. So hope this makes sense to you. If it doesn't, or if you have additional questions, please leave them in the comments below. And like, subscribe, share the video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Was it useful to find yourself if you have this Saturn going on? If you have it by transit, by natal, does it make sense to you? Do you feel yourself going into the past? How are you dealing with it, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys for watching this. Thank you guys for listening to me, and see you again in one of the next videos.